On the morning of August 6, 1945, Tsutomu Yamaguchi was walking to the train station in Hiroshima when he realized he had forgotten a document. He was a naval engineer at Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. He had been in Hiroshima for 3 months on a business trip, designing oil tankers. Today was supposed to be his last day. He was going home. His wife was in Nagasaki. His infant son was in Nagasaki. He just needed to get on the train. The forgotten document was an official seal, a hanko, a rubber stamp used on travel papers. Without it, his paperwork was incomplete. He turned around, walked back toward the Mitsubishi building, collected the stamp. He was less than 2 kilometers from the hypocenter when the Enola Gay dropped little boy at 8:15 a.m. The sky turned white. He described it later as a great flash in the sky, the specific phrase he used, and I was blown over. The blast ruptured both his eardrums. It blinded him temporarily. It burned the left side of his upper body. The shockwave threw him into a field. When he could see again, Hiroshima was gone. He lay in the field for a while. Then he got up and walked. The city that Yamaguchi walked through on August 6, 1945, no longer existed in any recognizable form. The thermal pulse from the detonation had ignited everything flammable within 2 kilometers of the hypocenter simultaneously. The blast wave had flattened most structures within that radius. Somewhere between 70,000 and 80,000 people had died in the first seconds. By the end of the day, the number would be higher. By the end of the year, between 90,000 and 166,000 people would be dead from the bomb and its effects. Yamaguchi walked through this, burned, partially deaf, temporarily blind in one eye. He found his 2 colleagues, Akira Iwanaga and Kuniyoshi Sato, who had also survived, and the 3 of them spent the night in an air raid shelter on the edge of the city. The following morning, they walked to what remained of Hiroshima Station. The station was damaged, but functional. They boarded a train. The train went southwest, through the mountains, toward the coast. Yamaguchi arrived home in Nagasaki on August 8, 1945, his city natal, his wife, his son. The place he had been trying to reach when he forgot the document that turned him around. He went to the hospital. He was bandaged. He was treated for his burns. He reported for work at the Mitsubishi factory on August 9, 1945, because the company required it, and because he was a man who reported for work. His supervisor's name is not recorded in history. He was a middle manager at the Nagasaki Mitsubishi facility, an ordinary person doing an ordinary job. When Yamaguchi came in on the morning of August 9th, with his burns and his bandages, the supervisor asked him to explain his condition. Yamaguchi explained. He had been in Hiroshima on August 6th. He had been less than 2 kilometers from a weapon that produced a blinding flash and destroyed the entire city in a single moment. He described what he had seen: the white sky, the city gone. The supervisor told him he was being hysterical. One bomb, he said, could not destroy an entire city. That was impossible. No weapon did that. Whatever Yamaguchi had experienced, he was either exaggerating or confused. The description was irrational. Yamaguchi was in the middle of explaining himself when the room went white. It was 11:02 a.m. on August 9th, 1945. The bomb the Americans called Fat Man, a plutonium device, more powerful than Little Boy, detonated 3.2 kilometers from the Mitsubishi factory where Yamaguchi was standing. For the second time in 3 days, the sky turned white and Yamaguchi was blown across the room. The windows shattered. The building shook. The supervisor who had just said that one bomb could not destroy an entire city had his answer delivered to him through the office windows, while the man he had dismissed was still standing in front of his desk. The supervisor's fate is unknown. He disappears from the record at this point. Yamaguchi survived again. He found his wife and son in the rubble of Nagasaki. His wife had been outside when the bomb fell, her face burned by the flash. His son was unharmed. They were alive. He gathered them, and they left the city. Yamaguchi spent the following weeks in the specific condition of a man who has survived 2 atomic bombs in 3 days. Burns healing badly, radiation sickness progressing, his hair falling out, his body doing what bodies do when they absorb the quantity of radiation he had absorbed. He was not expected to survive long term. His doctors told his family to prepare. He recovered. He went back to work at Mitsubishi. He lived. He and his wife had 3 children, the son who was an infant during the bombings, and 2 daughters born after the war. He designed ships. He went to work. He ate breakfast. He was alive. For decades, Yamaguchi rarely discussed what had happened to him. The Hibakusha, the survivors of the atomic bombings, faced significant social stigma in post-war Japan. There was fear that radiation damage was hereditary, that Hibakusha children would be born deformed, that the survivors were somehow contaminated in a way that could spread. Many survivors hid their status to find employment, to marry, to live without the specific weight of being defined by the worst days in the history of modern warfare. Yamaguchi spoke publicly about his experience beginning in the 1950s. He testified before the United Nations. He gave interviews. He wrote poetry about what he had seen. He was not seeking recognition for his double survival. He was seeking the end of nuclear weapons. He said this repeatedly and plainly for the rest of his life. He wanted the bombs to be the last. The Japanese government recognized Hibakusha status for survivors of 1 atomic bombing. For decades, there was no official category for someone who had survived both. The bureaucratic logic was the same logic that governed every institution Yamaguchi dealt with. The records have a format, and the format does not include this. In 2009, a year before his death, the city of Nagasaki petitioned the Japanese government on Yamaguchi's behalf. The government conducted a review. They confirmed his presence in Hiroshima on August 6th. They confirmed his presence in Nagasaki on August 9th. They issued a formal document recognizing him as a Niju Hibakusha, a twice-bombed person. He was 93 years old. He had been trying to get this recognition for years, not for himself, but because he believed the record should be accurate. "My double radiation exposure," he said when the recognition was announced, "is now an official government record. It can tell the younger generation the horrifying history of the atomic bombings, even after I die." He was the only person the Japanese government ever officially recognized as having survived both bombings. He died on January 4th, 2010, at 93, of stomach cancer. Whether the cancer was related to his radiation exposure is not established with certainty. He had been in good health for most of his long life. There were others. Yamaguchi was not the only person to survive both bombings. His 2 colleagues, Iwanaga and Sato, both survived Hiroshima and returned to Nagasaki, where both died in the second blast. Mitsubishi had factories in both cities, and workers moved between them regularly in the summer of 1945. Historians estimate that somewhere between 70 and 165 people survived both bombings. Most of them are dead now, and most of them never sought or received official recognition. Yamaguchi was recognized because he was persistent, because he lived long enough, because a city government petitioned on his behalf, because the process, when it finally moved in his favor. The others, the historical record does not preserve their names. In 1945, Tsutomu Yamaguchi was a 29-year-old naval engineer who forgot a document on the last day of a business trip and turned around to retrieve it. The forgotten document put him in the path of the first atomic bomb ever used in combat. His desire to go home put him in the path of the second. He outlived both bombs by 65 years. He outlived the war by 65 years. He outlived most of the people who built the bombs, dropped the bombs, survived the bombs, and argued about the bombs for the rest of the century. He designed ships. He raised children. He wrote poetry about what he had seen. He testified before the United Nations that nuclear weapons should never be used again. He was alive when the Japanese government told him, officially on paper, with the weight of the state behind it, that what had happened to him had happened to him. He was 93. He said, "Good, now the younger generation will know." He died a year later. The document exists. The bombs do too.